Lewis is in hell in Ferrari right now. That guy is.
Adami needs to go. Man, don't get me started.
His engineer is not.
I will crash out with Mark immediately.
Finally, I'm not alone.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Around the Circuit, Apollo Media's Formula One podcast. As always, I'm Junior, joined by my boy here, Mark. Ivan couldn't make it today, so in his place, we got my good friend Myra, diehard Lewis Hamilton fan, standing in with us. Shout out to Apollo's sponsors, Zing Zang, America's #1 Bloody Mary mix, and Big City Wings, Houston's wing joint, Apollo Media's wing joint. Monaco. Whew. The parade is over. As iconic as it is, the crown jewel of the sport, sadly, the cars have kind of outgrown the track. It's just not what it used to be. It's not what it was back in the days of Senna, where it was just an iconic race. Now, even the drivers like Lewis and Max are just, they're over it. Lando took the win. We got Charles, the Prince of Monaco himself, took P2. And then Oscar wrapped up the double podium for McLaren.
Hold on. Driver of the day, so that means I get another point.
Driver of the day was Charles.
As he should
he
be.
deserved it. It's his home race. He took a P2. I know he was disappointed it wasn't a win, but he still had a good race. I mean, the qualifying session, he could have been P1. Qualifying was intense. I said it last week when we recorded that this was probably going to be the most important qualifying session of the season, and it proved such. The top four didn't change from qualifying. The bottom half of the points and the bottom half of the grid got shifted a little bit with the pit stops and the DNFs. We'll talk about those in a little bit. But, yeah, how are we feeling after Monaco? Myra, Mark?
I should have brought a pillow.
Should have brought a pillow?
I don't like Monaco.
Yeah?
It's a boring race across the board. And then the whole pit stop strategy, changing that up.
Yeah.
It was chaotic, which I love chaos, especially in races. So I was all for the chaos, but the race itself is boring.
Yeah.
And the whole not being able to like overtake anywhere. The drivers are frustrated. The race is frustrating. Anyone watching it is frustrated. The glitz and glamour is a great time, but unless you're in Monaco, watching the cars go by and enjoying the actual like glamorous life of it, it's not fun for the rest of us.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think we saw in the post-race, George was talking about, let's just give a sprinkler button to some of the drivers.
God.
George was crashing out the whole race. Max was saying, let's go Mario Kart style and let's throw bananas at people. I mean, they're thinking of the most wild things to try and make this race interesting.
Let's get the Lego cars back.
Yeah, bring the Lego. Let's make it a Lego car race.
That was so fun. The Lego car race was great.
Yeah,
that should have been in Monaco.
Yes.
That would have been.
Really
that should have been the race,
Monaco.
because I mean, at least it would have made things exciting. It's hard to really make any statements with the top four essentially, because there really was no change. I know Max led for a very long time, hoping for some kind of safety car or red flag or something so that he could get that free pit stop at the end and win. It didn't come. Unfortunately, he finally made that second pit stop at the very last lap of the race, so he dropped down to P4. Lewis was in P5, which isn't a bad spot to finish considering how the beginning of the season was for Ferrari, but he was still like 40 seconds off from the lead, or from Max, who was in P4 ahead of him. It just wasn't a lot. There was a lot of, let's slow down here. A lot of teams playing the team game to try to open up pit stops. It worked for Williams and it worked for VCarb.
Yeah.
They had good races. They both double points for both teams. Liam Lawson got his first points of the season.
Shocking.
You can't, I guess you got to give it to him. He put together a qualifying that helped him out. And Fernando Alonso is still the unluckiest driver in the world. I know Mark has been very critical of Alonso.
Like I said, for the past 3 weeks, I've given him a lot of grief, father time and everything, but dude is in hell. He is in hell with Aston Martin, and It is upsetting to see.
Yeah.
It really is.
Is
Myra?
it though?
Come on.
I mean, listen, I think everyone can give him his flowers for being there and being a great driver for how long he was a great driver, and I think he's still good. But very clearly, there's other people and other racers who are out there right now who are absolutely pushing him out of the way.
Yeah.
And there comes a time where a driver needs to go. Just go.
Yeah.
Like take your wins, take the losses you've had, and go. Every post race, he turns it into a Max Lewis thing. Every commentary he has is something that doesn't even have to do with the race, really.
Yeah,
It's,
I
you know,
think-
his like personal feelings about things. So at some point, you have to just be like, yeah, I was a really great racer. I did really well. And now you're what, 7 or 8 races into the season? You've got to say, okay, I'm getting nowhere.
Yeah.
And there's all these rookies who are doing better than me. I'm going to bow out gracefully. Just go.
Yeah. My thing is, I think he's waiting for the new regs next year. So I think we're going to get the rest of this year and even next year with Alonso.
I think so too.
Just because, I mean, Aston Martin has Newey now,
Yeah.
you know, and he really wants to see what kind of car they put together. Next year is going to be a shit show, I feel like, with the new regs,
1000%.
the new cars. Excuse me. So it's going to be interesting to see. I think he sticks around that long. I think after 2026, if he gets nowhere, it's, you know, you got to kind of look yourself in the mirror and be like, all right, am I really doing what's best for myself or the sport right now?
Yeah.
We saw him retire once.
Do you think, though, that Aston Martin keeps him around if any of these rookies really do start to pick up in the second half?
So
Because contracts do open up.
that's true. I think Lawrence Stroll likes the knowledge that comes with him. Like you said, he's a 2-time champion. Granted, that was a very long time ago.
The year I was born
still,
was one of them. So, long time ago.
He's still, I mean, a knowledgeable guy in the sport, and I think he's still going to be around the sport even after he retires in some
I agree with that.
some form or fashion. But, yeah, I think when it comes to driving, I mean, we've seen Stroll put the car in points this year, and
That is actually
that's
shocking to me.
as shocking as it is. So, I mean, I don't know. It's just rough to see, even when he does have good qualifying sessions like he has the past 2 weeks, that he gets screwed over by by the pit strategy, or this week the engine just went out. You know, the engine just blew. He was the one race where nobody was probably going to overtake him. The pit stops weren't going to even matter. He was in prime position to finally get some points. I mean, we saw it happen with Liam Lawson. He got points this week. He qualified enough to get him there, and then as the DNFs happened, he just inherited the points. So I don't know. I think this was probably the unluckiest week that Fernando's had. Speaking of the DNFs, though, Pierre Gasly.
I don't know how.
I know that's Ivan's dude, and he probably would have crashed out if he was here. I don't know what happened there. I know after he hit Yuki, he said he didn't have brakes. I can only think that maybe he didn't have brakes beforehand, and that's why he hit him. Probably. But at the same time, these guys in the midfield there were going so slow to try to open up gaps. I mean, Williams was holding up the race for a very long time. When Liam got the chance to help out Isaac, he held up the race along. I mean, the race pace was
shockingly weird.
Yeah, it was just very slow. I mean, the gaps, there was a 50-second gap at one point between Lewis and Max that were P4 and P5, and then there was like a minute and 15-second gap between Lewis and like the next person.
Yes.
It was insane. So you've seen these guys trying to open up these gaps, and there's not much you can do. Like I said, there's no overtaking. There's no that chicane seemed to be a spot of that's where Gasly hit Yuki, ended his race, and almost ended a few others when he shot across. That's where George had his crash out and said, screw it, I'm going through and I'm taking the penalty.
I'm going to take it.
And it's funny because he took the penalty, and then Mercedes just decided they didn't want to do pit stops until the last 2 laps of the race.
Yeah, they were so wild with that whole pit stop strategy. I do not understand, but I also feel like because Kimi was off like right at the very beginning, right?
Yeah.
Like he had I think he hit the barrier or something.
That was
right?
Gabby, but Kimi had an incident.
Kimi had something right at the beginning, and I feel like they just completely, they were like, you know what, whatever, just screw it.
They had a
It's
bad
not-
qualifying.
Whatever, we're just done, we give up. And it was like, it felt like they gave up before the race ever started, really.
Yeah.
And then they were like, okay, we're just gonna wait till the very end. And then George crash out was amazing. It was so fun to watch. Him just,
Oh my God.
it was fantastic. I don't know, that was very funny to me. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
We're saying
Because he
hell.
tried to say, he's like, he braked too slow. Dude, you sent it.
Yeah, he
Okay.
sent it. He did break.
did.
I will say, Alex was doing some
Yes.
hard braking going into
He
those
was.
turns, but it was like a chain effect. He was doing it. The V carbs were doing it. Anyone who was going into that spot, and I think that's what happened with Yuki and Pierre is that they were in that train. Everybody hit the brakes hard, and Pierre just forgot he had a brake
They
pedal.
talked about it at one point because what you were saying, like with the gaps from car to car, right? They said it was weird because we haven't really seen that in Monaco before, right?
Yeah.
Where there's been like these massive gaps between cars. And it was interesting. I think it was Lewis that they were speaking to afterwards, and they asked him, like, the gap that you had, like, what was that? And he was like, I don't know.
It was Monaco.
I don't know how to reach, like, I didn't know how to get up to Max, and I didn't know, I think it was Isaac who was behind him. Like, Isaac couldn't catch up to me. And then you had how many cars that were getting lapped.
Yeah.
And that was it. Everyone was braking. Everyone was absolutely padding their time to, like, make sure that everyone was being held up behind them. And again, it's something I think we had talked about was this whole pit stop strategy, and the commentators were talking about it. It became a game of strategizing the pit stops and not a game of who's actually driving the best.
Yeah.
And that changed the Monaco race completely
Yeah.
from Monaco being Monaco, and it's just
Yeah,
how
I
are you
mean-
going to approach the turns to where are you going to pit stop, where are you going to hold somebody up,
Yep.
are they going to make their 2 pit stops, are they going to only do 1, are they going to take penalties, are they not going to take penalties, what's everyone going to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Changes the race.
Yeah, it was interesting because I feel like F1 wanted those pit stops to really make a difference, and they really just didn't. I mean, like you said, it became a game of strategizing the pit stops, but even then, I mean, you just hoped for a safety car. You hope somebody made a mistake and put it
time.
into the wall. I mean, the only safety car we got was when Gabby went straight into the wall, and then. I mean, we didn't even get a safety car when Pierre drove across half the track with 3 wheels, you know?
I still don't know how he dragged that thing into the pits.
Just dropping, carbon fiber everywhere.
Just everywhere. as it's
And
going.
there was just a double yellow, no safety car, not even a virtual safety car for them to clear the track.
Nope.
And if anything, that tells you how slow the race was.
Yes.
That the
Yep.
marshals had time to get out there, clear all up, and with the double yellow, it took them long enough to get around even this short track. Man, I don't know what they can do to make it better. 2026 is going to have smaller cars than what we have now, but I don't think it's going to be drastic enough to even improve that race.
Yeah.
I think we, as fans, and the drivers themselves kind of are there too, it's Monaco. We kind of accept it for what it is until some drastic change happens. I don't ever see it falling off the calendar either, just because of what it is
Right.
as far as history and like you said, everything that goes on around it, the celebrities, the antics, just everything that builds up to Monaco. And then I can only imagine how much money they bring in with all those yachts and
Oh, yeah.
and the casinos and
Monaco won't change, the race itself won't change unless they change the actual circuit because the streets are so narrow, right? That's always been the issue, is that it's a very narrow track. So how do you overtake? You can't. And then they did the pit stops, which they thought would allow for more overtaking, more room for like drivers to get around each other, have some ability for somebody to overtake somebody else, maybe somebody would screw up their pit stop strategy, something that clearly didn't work the way that they were hoping for. But unless they were to change that track,
yeah.
which again, they won't, because the whole point is you're going by the water, you've got the yachts, you've got the people,
tunnel.
you've got the tunnel, you've got all these historic spots that it goes through, and it brings in all this revenue, this money, people watching it. It's the glitz and glam, so you're going to accept it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's just going to be a boring race that every year.
Every year.
Fans are gonna go
we look
through hell
forward to it, but
watching
we
it.
don't. I
Yeah.
mean, I guess
Yeah.
eventually if we ever get out there, we'll enjoy it a lot more.
Sure.
Definitely on
78
the
laps of
bucket
just-
list. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
here we go again.
Um,
this year.
And I do want to shout out everyone who stopped by the live stream yesterday. We did live stream the Monaco Grand Prix. Me, Mark, Jay from Apollo NASCAR, and then Kush even stopped by. We had the live stream. We watched Monaco Grand Prix. We made it as exciting as it could. Another point, I had Ocon, P8. It wasn't a bad finish for him. He's secretly had like, a couple. Haas is Haas. I don't know if they ever change, but they've secretly, snuck Ocon into the top 10 finishes a couple times this season, and he qualified. He had a good qualifying to get up there, and then obviously he inherited a couple positions with the DNF from Alonso and the pit stop shuffle, but you got to give a shout out to him for at least getting points out of Monaco, because it definitely could have gone the other way. I mean, we didn't hear anything about the second half, the bottom half of the grid at all, outside of Yuki being crashed into and Gabby going into the wall. I don't know. It's just there wasn't a lot of talking points coming out outside of Charles being disappointed for P2.
Yeah.
Ferrari's your baby, Mark. Were you disappointed with P2 considering where Ferrari's been?
I mean, I watched qualifying, and when Charles got provisional pole, I was like, this is great.
Yeah,
I was
he's
like,
got it.
oh my God, like he might win and then Lando came. I'm gonna give my props to Lando. That was an amazing lap. I almost couldn't be mad at it, but I was still mad at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was like, okay, maybe Lando bottles it into the first corner all the time.
He almost did.
And he almost did. He
Almost
locked up
did.
like, oh my. And for a split
Almost
second,
did.
I was like, no. It was just went away, and it was just. Charles, towards the end, his pace was amazing, and he was catching up to Lando, but there's nowhere to overtake.
Yeah.
Exactly that.
There's nowhere to overtake.
Even on the one DRS zone, the straightaway, he could. There wasn't enough there for him to.
And when Lando in that McLaren, he just got away immediately after in that straightaway, so there was nowhere for Charles to overtake.
Yeah, and Jay mentioned it during our live stream.
Yeah.
Coming out of the corners onto the straights, McLaren is just so fast.
Yes.
Because every chance Charles would get, they'd hit that straight and Lando was gone. Yeah. He would build that 0.2 of a second gap to about 0.5, And so it was, Max did what he could to kind of hold him up and keep him. Max did. I can only imagine Max and Charles as teammates at some point, because they have that bromance. Everybody jokes around about it. Max loves Charles. They've been racing since we've all seen the meme, the incident on the race. So they've been racing together for so long. But to see what Max was doing when he was in the lead, to push Lando into DRS of Charles and hopefully give Charles a chance, even if it put him under pressure like he did, and hope Lando made some kind of a mistake.
We had to hear Lando in the comments say, hey, can Piastri come help me? Because Charles is on my ass.
He did. He had to call, And you give McLaren props and Oscar props for playing the team game, because when they needed it, Oscar was there to help Lando, like, hey, okay, cool. Now I'm in DRS of Charles. Let's keep this a little bit, safe for Lando to get the win. At the end of the day, they both won the Constructors, and we said it on the live stream. McLaren's fixing to run. I think by a summer break, the Constructors' Championship might be over with.
Yeah.
Locked up.
You got any last thoughts on Ferrari and McLaren?
Charles did everything he could.
Yeah, it's hard because Monaco just doesn't give you a lot to talk about.
There's nowhere to overtake. Yeah. Lewis did the absolute best he could.
Yeah.
It was funny at the end of the race hearing him like, are you upset with me?
And then silence.
There was just
silence.
I will say him and his engineer we knew it was going to be rough coming in. Like, he left Bono, and the relationship they had and how good of an engineer he is, to go to Ferrari and have to rebuild this relationship. Him and his engineer just still can't seem to click. We've seen it the past couple weeks. It's Lewis Hamilton, so he's gonna get it right. You just hope the engineer can catch on and be like, hey,
It's just surprising though, because there's these moments that are so clutch between them where they absolutely lock in, right? And we've seen it over the last couple of races, a couple of sprints. There's these moments where Lewis will ask for something and Adami gives him exactly what he needs. Yeah. And it's a very, I don't know, if you listen to the radio questions that Lewis asks, he's not mincing what he's asking.
Yeah.
When he asked, what is my time? Am I a minute behind? That is, how do you take that any different from, am I a minute behind.
Exactly.
You cannot take that any different. You're off going into La La Land with the sky is purple, blue, and yellow. Like, answer the guy's question.
Yeah.
And then you're not giving him any information, so then he has to cut you off and ask something else. And I feel like it's so wild because, why are you deflecting? And then you have other times where he gives him exactly the information he's asking for, and Lewis is like, great, okay, and then makes the adjustment he needs and is off to doing whatever he needs to do, or doesn't get right, whatever happens. But you're kind of like, why? Why is it one time it's so perfect and on the button, and the next it's completely off kilter? But then you've seen the same thing happen with Charles with the water incident. And you're like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it makes you
there?
like
so bad.
Ferrari engineers just kind of, they have you wondering sometimes.
In the Miami sprint race, the track was so wet, and they put Charles out on intermediates, and he put into the wall.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are we doing?
I think Ferrari just will never get out of their own way, unfortunately.
Why would you say this to both of us while
I'm
we're sitting
just
right
saying,
here?
like, as a non-biased opinion, it just doesn't seem like they'll ever get out of their own way.
Should we just leave him here?
We might have to lock him in the room until he comes to.
Don't get me wrong.
He needs to get it together.
I would love to see Charles outside of maybe when Max is done racing. Charles win a championship one day. Wow. I'd love to see Lewis win his 8th in red.
I would really like
for
Max
the sport.
To DNF
it would be
in the next race.
Great, right? But it's just Ferrari. They changed team principles. They just can't figure it out. I don't know what it is. They were one race away from winning the Constructors' Championship last year.
Why do you remind me of that every single
What
week?
is the need for you to do this right now?
What are you, the driver, trying to watch on the
every race going forward.
Can we talk about that we talked about on the live stream? The watch placement constantly from the drivers after the race.
We saw the lady hand Lando the watch immediately after he won.
And then he says, like 3 times. You see the watch. These are $1 million watches or whatever it is. I mean, I can only dream to own a Tag Heuer one day. But
just hold one.
Man, just hold it. Even look at it. But man, it's just so funny. Like the little things we had to find entertainment as in Monaco.
Junior did not want to watch Lando win, so
he's like, look at the watch. Like if you know me, I like Oscar. I'm not a fan of McLaren. Zach Brown gets on my nerves, and Lando is. Look, man, they're behind me. It is what it is. Lando's Lando. I'm not a fan, but I give him props. He's had, he's been since last year in Miami. He's been doing well enough to win McLaren the championship and be in the Drivers' Championship fight this year. I mean, he's only 3 points behind Oscar now. Max is only 25 points outside the lead, and we're going into Barcelona for the Spanish Grand Prix.
Okay, can we stop acting like Red Bull was actually ever an underdog? Can we just have a moment here?
Look.
Because every single person who acts like Red Bull came in with an actual tractor is literally lying to themselves.
They did, but, and I said it in the first few episodes, they're going to come in, they're still going to be struggling the first few races, but Red Bull's Red Bull. They still have Max Verstappen as their number 1 driver. They're going to figure something out, and they've shown it. These last few races, they've been getting better and better. Slowly but surely, Max is still in the Drivers' Championship. If Yuki could figure it out like he's shown spurts of, maybe, they're only out like a few points outside of P2 in the Constructors.
Right.
Because Williams is starting to, we don't know, I mean, not Williams, Mercedes is starting to go downhill a little bit. These last few races have been terrible for them. Hopefully Yuki gets it together. I mean, just some of these tracks just aren't well. I said it last week. Monaco's not a good track for Red Bull. Last year they struggled. Max was like P6. P4 this year is better,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I said it. I knew Red Bull was going to get better. I thought it was going to take them a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I thought they were going to get it together a little bit faster. But Barcelona has always been the target. I think before the season, even Max and a couple people from Red Bull said, if we can get into Barcelona within 25 points, which is what you get for a race win, within 25 points of the championship lead with the TDs coming in, then we're where we want to be. So that it kind of leads me into going into next week. Those technical directives that are coming in, the flexi wing technical directives, McLaren is downplaying it a lot. Red Bull seems to think there's something there, even if it's slight. What do you think, Mark? You think it's playing a part?
Bro, I don't know who to believe.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the political mind games being played on the paddock, so I don't know.
We'll see when we see.
Yeah,
when we get there, we're gonna find out. Like if Max just goes away with the 40-second lead, then we're gonna know if it actually has an effect. And then McLaren both DNFs because something went wrong. But I mean, I'm not gonna know until I see it on Sunday.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Myra, you got any thoughts on the?
I feel like everyone's playing it down.
Yeah.
No one's gonna, but that's always their game, right? Like
that's true.
There's no team who comes out and is like, we're making all these big changes. We're gonna do all this stuff. Everything's gonna be different.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone's gonna say, no, everything's gonna be fine. We're pretty happy with our car. We might make like a tiny adjustment here and there. And that's kind of how everyone really approaches it. Or they'll say we have this one particular race where we're going to bring like major adjustments.
Mm-hmm.
I think going into Spain with all these technical directives, we'll see.
Yeah.
I think everyone's going to say, oh, it's some small things.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be very curious seeing people going into qualifying, going into the race, how it actually looks. But I don't know. I think all of the same cars that we've been saying, all the same teams, all the same drivers, you're either going to see them really take off, or you're going to see some serious crash outs.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's going to be like a middle. I think it's going to be one or the other way, right? And it's going to be the car's either really doing what you want it to do, or the car's like really screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's going to be all the other races after that trying to fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ivan made up a good point a couple weeks ago. I can't remember when it was, but he had said to see where Alpine is now compared to where, I mean, they were fighting for the midfield, like best of the rest positions last year, and then this technical directive they knew was coming in. They were pretty open with, hey, we're making these changes to be ahead of the game. Mm-hmm. And then you see where they're at now, where they're at the bottom with Sauber. It makes you wonder. It makes you wonder that all these teams that are waiting until Barcelona to make these changes, I mean, we don't know what Mercedes did, but you've seen the last 2 weeks, they've kind of taken a downhill turn. It's been obviously it's been some weird tracks, but me personally, as much as I would love to see McLaren take a nosedive after this TD hits for selfish reasons as a Max fan, I really don't think it's going to play that much of a factor. I think
McLaren's going to, though.
Red Bull is going to be there. They've talked about Red Bull as one of the teams. There's a few teams bringing a ton of upgrades into Barcelona. So Red Bull's bringing upgrades. I think Ferrari is. Mm-hmm. A few teams. Barcelona's a quick track where they're going to be able to implement these upgrades, really get some practice sessions in, kind of get the data they need to see what's going to pretty much lead us into the summer break and even after for later this season. I mean, we're a third of the way through now. We just got done with race 8 out of 24. It's now or never for some of these teams, to make these changes. So I don't know.
I don't think McLaren's going to make any huge changes, though.
Yeah.
To be honest.
I think it's going to be, they're going to fix whatever they need to apply the technical directive, but I don't see it really. I don't know, man. The car's just fast.
Not when they've had constructors last year, and then the car's been so far ahead of everyone else already. I mean, it's a rocket ship, right?
Yeah.
And it has performed that way.
Yeah.
Like, even with Red Bull starting to inch up closer, it's not inched up so close where it's like, they're right behind us, or they're really keeping up. Ferrari's not really keeping. Nobody else is just like right behind them, so they have no reason to really screw with it. Yeah. The car, like, to a point where it's like, oh, okay, now it's gone completely off track, or it's gone completely a different direction. So I could see them maybe doing a little bit of tweaking here and there, like you said, just to get it where it needs to be. But I don't know that McLaren would do much. Not at the level of Red Bull and Ferrari, where they could probably be like, okay, we're just going to send it. We're going to do whatever we need to do. And then if it really screws it up, well, then we're going to go the opposite direction and go back to what we had.
I know one of the big things McLaren is really good at is tire deg. So after they implement the flexi wing, and then with the TDs that the FIA kind of snuck in and Imola, going into Barcelona where tire deg is going to be really high, and they're going to be using all the harder compound tires. It's going to be interesting to see if McLaren is still doing really well with that compared to others. Because, I mean, we've seen cars like Red Bull and Ferrari where their tires are just shredded. They're struggling on there, and McLaren's just cruising. There's like we've joked about there's water in the tires. Something, they got something right. Whatever it is, they have something working for them, And it's within the rules because it's been investigated. It's been looked at. Christian Horner made, his statements towards it. He never really fully asked for an investigation, but he made enough comments to where the FIA was like, okay, we'll look at it.
Yeah.
We'll look at it. We'll make sure that we're not getting, hoodwinked or bamboozled by the team. But you got to give it to McLaren engineers. I mean, something's working right for them to where they have a spaceship, man.
I will be very curious, though, to see between Oscar and Lando, though, because Lando is not great at tire management.
Yeah.
And I think we might have been talking about this towards the end of last year, where it was Lando was better at racing than Oscar was better at racing than Lando because he could manage his tires a little bit better, and Lando would full send at the wrong time.
Yeah.
And then his tires were having degradation problems every single time. And the tires were still good then too, right? The car wasn't different then. And while the tires have changed, I'm still very curious to see if Oscar's going to manage them better, which makes him the better driver still and keeps him in the championship.
He's still got a 3-point lead in the championship, so it's still close. And we still haven't seen that big fight between them that leads to maybe a crash out or almost a crash out that causes the team have to step in. It's coming. We know it's coming. Yeah. We're so close to it happening because we've seen it a couple times where it's just right there, and then, maybe it something happens. I just
something's gonna happen.
It's coming, and I can't wait for the moment just so that I can. It's gonna be exciting. I don't know. Not even as a McLaren hater.
It's gonna be great.
It's always the back half of the season, though. That's when everyone starts to do their full crash outs. It's gonna be after the summer break, right, where everyone starts to have their meltdowns because, okay, now people are starting to really set into their championship mode. Okay, who's where are the cars in construction? Where are the teams starting to fall? You just know it's gonna happen. I think Max is gonna have his crash out. Charles is probably going to have his actual full crash out at some point.
Yeah, he hasn't fully had that yet.
He hasn't yet. And it's funny because I think I don't know if you've seen it, but I feel like people have tried to make it about Charles and Lewis bickering and fighting, and they're both no, it's really not that. We're good.
They're just trying to figure their car out.
You look back Miami, that one incident, it wasn't Charles and Lewis, it was the engineers not communicating with both drivers.
100%. And they both say that. They're it's literally not us. We're on the same page. We don't get communication enough, quick enough or fast enough after the fact when we talk about it. We understand exactly what's happening and we're fine with it. And so I feel but something's going to happen and Charles is going to crash out. Max is going to crash out. You just know these big ones are coming.
Yeah.
Lando is going to have a meltdown. And honestly, just get your popcorn ready because I feel it's the fun is coming.
Yeah, we've had an interesting beginning to the season. The real fun, I feel is gonna, especially when we get into some of these faster tracks where we go into Barcelona, we go into Spa, we go into Monza, Texas. I mean, they come here to Austin. It's gonna get some of those fast tracks with those hard first turns. Things are gonna get interesting.
All the rookies still too.
I guess some of the other talking points going into Barcelona too is. Carrying over from Monaco and carrying over my agenda is Williams. It's just been so good. It's going to be a home race for Carlos. I don't know, and I'm excited. Carlos is my number 2 favorite driver, so it's going to be fun to see. I've loved outside of Max and Red Bull, Williams is my go-to to cheer on because I've loved seeing the turn that James and Alex and Carlos and the rest of the team have turned. Y'all have heard me say it a million times on here. I'm going to get a Williams hat soon for whenever they hit that first podium because I know it's coming. That's a big talking point coming in is it's going to be Carlos' home race. Williams has done extremely well. I think they're sitting right behind Ferrari in the construction.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got to bring that up.
So I'm giving kudos to Williams. I'm not dogging on Ferrari.
I love Williams too, man.
Fair.
That don't mean you gotta bring up Ferrari.
I'm telling you, we're gonna leave you. You're just gonna have to sit here by yourself and talk.
You got any big thoughts outside of that coming in?
No,
Barcelona?
not really. I mean, right now I was just thinking, damn, I have to make a prediction for next week. And
That's gonna be the hard point. I'll pull it up. Let's see. Because I love looking at the standings sometimes. Yeah, Williams sitting P5. Granted, they're about 100 points off of Ferrari. Okay. But sitting P5.
Okay. But also, like, kudos to Alex, who has been an incredible. And I know you guys have said it, like, week after week. I think you guys have been giving lots of credit to Alex, as it should be. Because online, it has been, oh, look how well Alex is doing because of Carlos. And I'm like, no. Hold on, pause. Like, yes, I think Carlos has been a great addition to Williams, and him and, James, like, have clearly been very helpful in strategizing and helping the car and making sure that Williams is like doing something this season, right? But Alex is a phenomenal driver in his own right. Like he has proven that a lot this year.
Yeah.
In placing himself well, in being in the right spots on the grid, in actual driving.
Qualifying too. He has been outstanding in qualifying. Like you said, to place himself in those positions.
Absolutely.
To
he's doing well. Like his driving capability is actually shining through this season so far. And so like kudos to Alex for actually doing well in Williams, and also then making Williams stand out.
And even like going into this season, knowing Carlos was going to be teaming with him, we didn't know what to expect. But I was like, man, a team with Carlos and Alex, is going to be like, we love to see these interviews, and we love to see their, we saw Charles and Carlos get so close over the years, and then that got ripped away. And so we're like, okay, well, Carlos usually gets along with all his teammates. We saw Lando back in McLaren. We knew he was going to mesh well with Alex, because Alex is a fun guy on camera, out off the track. But to see like that transfer over into on the track, even like Monaco, where they were swapping positions, and there was really Carlos never really likes to swap positions back, and he even said, well, let's race our race and we'll wait to the end. But even when the team order came, hey, we're swapping positions, you heard nothing on the radio. He let it happen. Even back to race 1 in Australia, Carlos crashed out, and he was on the paddock, running back and forth between the engineers and the pit wall, and saying like, telling them when to go on the inners, checking the weather. We had strategist Carlos out there.
Carlos.
I think a lot of these teams have actually found really good driver pairings.
Yeah.
Like whether it's Ferrari, whether it's Williams, even like Yuki with Red Bull and Max. Like, I truly do think that there have been, right now where we're at with driver pairings is very good.
Yeah.
Because while Charles and Carlos like got along very well, and there's like a lot of fun there was a lot of crashing out between who's going to be 1, who's going to be 2, where are we going, blah, blah, blah. And then you see Charles and Lewis, they're very good at like, where do they need to be, who's going to do whatever it is. Like with Red Bull, Max and Yuki they're very complementary towards each other.
Absolutely.
Same thing with what you're talking about with Carlos and how he is with Alex. I think that whatever change has happened, whether it's the drivers themselves or the teams saying enough of y'all's bullshit, like everyone needs to like be kind and like decent with one another, we have one goal here. Whatever that is that has shifted, the driver pairings have been really good, and it's very clearly showing within the teams. I think it's great.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, with so many rookies on the track, and we've talked about the rookies and we've given them all their praise where they deserve it, you kind of wonder how some of those pairings are going to go. And early on with Liam at Red Bull, didn't exactly work out. More just because he still has, I feel like, some growth. He had a good weekend, but him and Isaac complement each other well. Isaac is my rookie of the year. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again because he's been driving his ass off.
I brought it up in the live stream. He has more points combined with Yuki and Liam.
He has, let me find it, 15 points. Doesn't sound like a lot, but then you look at Liam, who barely got his first points this week. He got 4 points, and Yuki has 10. Now, I'm interested to see if Yuki can start building that points up once he starts getting the same setup that Max is, because they've said the last few weeks he hasn't had the same setup. They've been kind of using Max as the guinea pig and the Verstappen factor to see how well that car is going to react. And then they've slowly started giving the same setup to Yuki. Yuki can drive, so we'll see how that goes. But like I said, the rookies have just been with even Kimi with George. George is an interesting character. And so to see Kimi mesh really well with him as he's, been driving his ass off as well. It's fun to watch.
That's the thing. It's like they still just get along. Like,
Kimi looks at George as like that big brother. You can see it.
It's like his little kid. What was they were on the scooter or whatever together?
When he was riding on the scooter together.
Funny. I was like, man, this is great. Like, it's so funny to watch it happen. They're so cute.
Yeah. So we'll get into our predictions for Barcelona. Okay. It's gonna be hard.
Man.
I say hard because it's a crapshoot at this point. We don't know who.
I gotta say, you've been going to me first for like the past 2 weeks. Don't do it again.
Okay, we'll start with Myra here in a minute.
Nobody.
So,
you good.
Or I'll kick it off. Okay, so our predictions for Barcelona, the Spanish Grand Prix. It's the home race for Alonso. It's the home race for Carlos. The technical directives for the Flexi Wing are going to take place. Lots of teams are bringing upgrades. We don't know how they're going to react. We don't know what's going to happen. I've said it. I don't really think that technical directive is going to play as big a part as Red Bull or other teams may think to McLaren. Myra mentioned Oscar is really well at managing his tires at a track where that's going to matter. So my prediction for Barcelona, Oscar's going to get the win.
Me too.
I think Charles is going to get P2 again. And then Max is going to wrap up the podium. I think Red Bull gets something they need. They've been looking forward to Barcelona since the season started. They took the losses. They took the random podiums, the win in Japan, the win in Imola. They said, cool, we're where we want to be. We're getting better. Something about Barcelona has Red Bull amped up. I think it pays off and gets him on the podium again. My driver of the day, though, isn't going to be any of those. I don't think it is because I think it's going to be Carlos. Carlos has been driving his ass off. He's finally getting the car underneath him, and he's been getting into points. Williams is constantly getting double points. So I think with a home race, there's going to be that bias in the fan vote, and he's going to have a really well, drive where he's going to be probably P6, P7, maybe even P5 if he can get past Alex. He's somewhere there. He's going to get the votes, and he wins driver of the day. My only caveat will be if Fernando finally gets his points this week, Fernando gets the votes. But that's my predictions. Mark.
Dude, I'm cooked. Like I said in the stream, I've just been throwing out random names. So I'm going to do the same thing. We're going to go Oscar win. Verstappen second. Screw it, man. Williams is back. We're going to go Carlos Sainz
Carlos
third.
Sainz third.
Okay.
And obviously, Carlos Sainz driver of the day.
Driver of the day? Yeah, if he gets podium, he's definitely the driver of the day.
I have to go.
I actually had mine lined up as yours.
Okay.
I had Oscar P1, Charles P2, and then Max P3. But I also think it could be Lando P3.
Yeah.
I very much think that McLaren could very easily have a double podium once again.
Once again.
So that's kind of where I stand with that. Driver of the day, I think, is going to be Carlos, regardless.
So we're Carlos across the board for driver of the day.
Yeah. I don't see Carlos being as high as P5, 6, or 7, though.
No?
Maybe
I'm hopeful.
I do think, though, that in this race, they're going to have him above Alex as much as they possibly can.
Yeah.
So
they're going to give him a lot of love being at
strategy
home.
will be to have him do more, press more, have the better set, have whatever he needs to get the better race.
Yeah, and it's going to come down. I mean, we've said it time and time again. It's going to come down to qualifying. Qualifying's been just extremely close. If Carlos can qualify better than Alex, then he's really going to be put in that position to where Williams will say, hey, this is your home race. You've been doing well. You've helped the team a lot. Let's get you some good points, get you a good drive, maybe driver of the day.
Yeah.
And let's get out of here with, with our head held high, considering they're Williams. They're not McLaren, Ferrari, or Red Bull.
Also, I just won't ever let him be above Lewis, so that's just my own personal
well,
bias,
I got you. That's why I figure, I think it comes down to, like you said, with Lando and Max, it's going to come down to if they're both going for P3, I think Max is going to get the better of Lando every time. That's just my personal opinion. Lando has gotten better at fighting Max, but I think he's still going to get the better of him every time.
It's either going to be one of them or one of them is going to knock the boat out.
Yeah, they're going to be out.
Well, it's going to be Max. Max is going to go in.
We know
what Max is
going to do.
Max is going to skid him off, and he's going to be like, he hit me. I was ahead at the apex.
Oh my god.
I mean, not to go too far back into Monaco, but the F2 race that started in absolute chaos.
Man.
The 11 car pile up.
Turn 1.
And Alex Dunn just caused a crazy crash. And I don't know if y'all saw the video where in the paddock, the leader, I can't remember who it was, but he was pissed off and he was like, "Who does he think he is, Max Verstappen?"
Yes.
So, you take that as maybe a compliment. Like he thought he could make that move like Max could, but he also take it as like Max is a known terrorist on the track. So maybe Alex thought he was gonna push somebody off. I don't know. It was funny to see that interaction, especially as a Max fan, because I know how it is. I'm not gonna be ashamed to say I know what Max does on the track. So you look at it at both sides where like it's a compliment because maybe Max does make a move like that and pushes them out, or he does go full blown terrorist. But even then, I don't think Max has ever caused a crash that bad. That one was bad. With it being Monaco, it was a little more congested and all. But yeah, that was interesting. Yeah. So
Wild.
Not to get too off track on Barcelona. Any last thoughts before we wrap it up?
Obviously, I didn't pick Ferrari because I'm not picking Ferrari ever again. I mean, it worked for me this week, so
yeah.
I'm not doing it again.
The only one I say was Charles. I just think Charles is having some good races. Ferrari seems to.
Yeah.
I would like to say Lewis gets up there, but I think they still got something. He's going to be up in the top 5. I think Ferrari has proved the last few weeks they're getting better.
Yeah, I forgot to mention no Lewis podium. You said it last week.
I know. I only got the winner right. I got my winner right. I thought Lando was going to bounce back and get the win, and I was right. Our predictions for podium were way off. I think George finished P12, P11,
yeah, I'm
and
not
everybody,
talking about it.
You and Ivan both had him on the podium. I had Max on the podium, and he missed out.
I had Max winning the thing.
Yeah,
he didn't finish on the podium.
Dang.
Our predictions haven't gone well. Looking at driver of the day points, I have 1, Ivan has 0, and Mark has 2. We're on going into week 9, so that gives you any kind of indication.
Hometown driver wins it every single time. Like that's the only way I've gotten
thought
points.
so, but 2 weeks ago that didn't happen. We thought Kimmy was going to get it,
fair,
and he DNF'd.
That's fair.
So, yeah. Myra, thanks for joining and filling in for Ivan today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching, everybody. As always, subscribe to Apollo HOU. Like this video. Drop your predictions, your thoughts on Monaco, your thoughts on Barcelona, the TDs coming up. Anything, everything leading up to the race, drop your thoughts in the comments. Follow us on all our socials, Apollo F1 Racing on Instagram, Apollo Formula 1 on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, and Around the Circuit on TikTok, as well as follow up all the Apollo HOU socials. Until next week, thank you for watching. We'll see y'all then to wrap up Barcelona and the Spanish Grand Prix and how it goes. We'll see what happens.
Yep.
We're out. Peace.